When the building has walls and floors, it's time to start working on the roof. In this video, you will see how we made a high-quality roof with monolithic foam concrete on such an empty roof, and prepared the roof for laying the membrane. 40 days, almost 3,000 square meters, with all the details and nuances that arose during the work. So, the first thing we see is the project from the customer, which he sent us, namely the roof plan. The roof consists of 2 levels. The upper level is in the shape of the letter L. The lower level is in the shape of a right-angled rectangle. The entire roof is divided into sections by water intake funnels. Each section is approximately 280 squares. Within each section, the roof is divided into triangles. Each triangle is a plane that is tilted towards the inlet. There are 7 sections on the upper tier and 3 sections on the lower tier, respectively. There are 10 sections in total, approximately 280 square meters each. The total roof area is 2,800 square meters, and this is how we have to make the roof. Here we have a roof like this. It is 2-level, that is, there is 1 level with the letter L. This part of the roof is lowered by 1 meter. The roof area is 58 by 48, and the total area is about 3,000 square meters, 2,800 square meters. Everything will be covered with a film. There will be a layer of D200 foam concrete on top. The top layer will be D800 foam concrete. Water will be drained through the holes that have already been prepared. This will be the lowest point. The layer thickness is 24.5 centimeters. The roof will be divided into parts by diagonals, and along these diagonals, water will flow to the drainage hole. The floor slabs here are reinforced concrete. The film is needed only to prevent foam concrete from falling into these gaps and leaking between them to the lower floors. It is very important that the embedded parts for the installation of heavy equipment have already been prepared, because later, if they are not made in advance, you will have to dig the foam concrete and dig up to the floor slabs. Because you need to be attached to the floor, foam concrete will not hold such a mortgage. In the corners, at the top points, we temporarily fasten self-tapping screws and attach threads to them. The threads are a temporary solution. In the future, strong jubilees will be attached to withstand the tension of the cable. Day 2. In the afternoon, we received the film. We began to lay it out and immediately press it down with whatever we had at hand. Bricks, profiles, metal scraps. All the joints will be taped to prevent the wind from tearing the film. We also raised the film on the parapet to the height we needed. We still need to finish part of the parapet today. Then we can install the beacons. The beacons will be combined. The breaking crests and diagonals will be made of galvanized profile, and the cables will be stretched along them, along which the rules will move. Day 3. This is how the water intake funnel looks like when the diagonal beacons have already been installed. They form triangles along which water will flow, and the cables will be stretched parallel to the price across the roof. Instead of threads, a metal cable will be stretched in the future. The threads are a temporary solution so that we can install these additional vertical legs every 1.5 to 2 meters, so that in the future, both diagonals and cables will be supported by these legs, and the cable will not sag when we pull the top layer of foam concrete along it with a rule. The design of the profile is very simple. We bend it, fix it at the corners, attach it to the ceiling with 2 dowels, and leave a small tongue on top, which we use to clamp the cable so that it cannot move up or down. This is where we would have attached the cable, but because the strength of the foam concrete is not sufficient to withstand the high tension of the cable, we decided to drive in reinforcement and then attach the cable to the reinforcement. That's why we drilled these reinforcements. We attached and tensioned temporary threads to them. We placed vertical legs under the threads, and on top of these legs, we attached our diagonals of the price profile. When everything is installed, you can remove the threads and dismantle all the reinforcement. The rule that we will use is 1.5 meters long, so the distance between the threads, instead of which the cable will be stretched later, is 1 meter 30 centimeters, and so on throughout the roof. The 4th day. Yesterday we finished installing the legs for 1 sector and installed the diagonals for the other 2 sectors. Today we plan to install all the auxiliary legs on these 2 sectors. This is the lower level, about 800 square meters, and then we will be able to move to the upper tier and lay the film. This is how we decided to attach the reinforcement to the foam block. The lower part of the rebar was drilled into the ceiling, and in the middle, the rebar was driven crosswise into the foam block. This structure should be able to withstand it, but we will see over time when we stretch the cable. Day 5, morning. This level of the roof is ready. All the diagonals and auxiliary legs are in place, and now we are starting to work on the upper level of the roof. We're going to cut the film there. We will devote more time and attention to this, because there are problems with the film, a lot of them. We are constantly tearing out the film. By 12 o'clock, we had covered this area. It's a little smaller than the one we used to put up before. Now we are starting to put diagonals and high points. We had 4 reinforcements band, so that we could leave our level along the reinforcements and continue to stretch the threads to these reinforcements. But specialists came to install the funnels. They had to do it quickly, so we just cut the rebar 1 centimeter lower than our level, because these funnels have to be lower on the finished roof than our level. But then we had to raise the threads by 1 centimeter. This was done with the help of a 10th rebar. Now the threads are at our level, and the funnel is lowered by 1 centimeter from the level of the finished foam concrete. So that we don't have to grind the concrete in the future, we made these structures with a profile so that our concrete fits into one level. This will be a deepened water intake funnel. It is planted below, and the water that will be around will definitely fall into it. That is, there will be no puddles around it with this design. This is what the building looks like from the outside. Some of the cement has already arrived. This will be enough for us to work for several days. Now, we will set up the equipment as we see fit. To keep it close to the cement, we will use hoses to bring it upstairs. The slurry will be pumped upstairs along with the foaming agent and air, and there will be a mixing system there. You will see everything tomorrow. Tomorrow we will start pouring D200 brand fiber reinforced concrete. The first layer. As I said, there will be 2 layers, because the height of the concrete is high, and it is difficult to pour everything at once. Morning of the 7th day. Thanks to the fact that we installed the equipment yesterday, we stretched all the hoses as we needed. Everything is ready for pouring, and now, in the morning, we can start immediately. We prepare the cement mortar in a mixer. We immediately pour it into the cement mortar pump, which continuously delivers this cement mortar through a hose to the roof. We also have 2 other hoses. One is used by the compressor to continuously pump air, and the second is a foaming agent pump that continuously pumps the foaming agent solution to the roof to the mixing system. We prepare the foaming agent solution in 200-liter food barrels. This is what they look like. When all the components are delivered to the roof via hoses, they are mixed in the mixing system. And at the output, we have only a 4-meter hose. And thanks to this, the foam concrete does not break during transportation, and the bubbles remain intact. This is a very important point. These are the 3 hoses that go up to the roof. These are the cement mortar hose, the foaming agent hose, and the air hose. They come from our equipment, respectively, from the cement mortar pump, from the foaming agent pump, and from the compressor, which is located in the middle building. And they go to the mixing system, which is located at the foam concrete production site. Currently, the first layer of D200 is being poured. In the future, you will pour the second layer of D200 foam concrete, because the average height of D200 here will be about 30 to 35 centimeters, and it is very difficult to pour such a thickness at one time. Therefore, now about 15 centimeters is being poured. Then a second layer of D200 foam concrete will be poured on top, already with the formation of the necessary ear. You can see the hood along these diagonals. They go from the top point to the bottom point, which is the water inlet. And so does each diagonal. The upper side goes under the parapets, and along these breaking ridges, they are also the highest point. The lowest point is just a water inlet, and with these triangles we form the necessary cover over the entire area. This is how the mixing system looks like. All the ingredients are mixed in it. At the end, we have only a 3 to 4 meter hose, which transports the finished foam concrete to the point of pouring. And from one place we can cover a large area. And then we simply rearrange the mixing system and pour further, and so on, all over the roof. The work algorithm is basically the same as yesterday and the day before. We worked out a certain amount of cement during the day, moved the equipment closer to the cement in the morning to make it easier to work, and then we start up again and pour foam concrete again. And so, on every day. I want to show you a part of the roof that we poured yesterday. With a difference of about 1 to 2 hours, this part, which has already turned white, saw the sun for about 1 to 2 hours longer than this gray part, because this part is in the shadow of the parapet, and the sun comes out and warms it somewhere in the afternoon. So this part was heated by the sun for 1 to 2 hours longer than the part in the shade of the parapet. I want to show you how quickly the foam concrete hardens. This part, which we poured 1 to 2 hours earlier yesterday, has almost no traces left. Let me remind you that only 1 day has passed. And now, let's move on to the part that was less heated by the sun. As you can see, there are still traces, small ones, but this is how 2 hours of sunshine affect the speed of foam concrete hardening. Let me remind you that it is the end of March. And in summer, the picture is completely different. Foam concrete becomes very strong in a day. The next day, we pour the penultimate sector around this water intake funnel. And at the same time, we set up lighthouses in the last sector. In fact, the first layer of D200 foam concrete is almost poured in this sector. There is less than half of it left. Today we will complete this and move on to the second layer of D200 foam concrete in those sectors. Let me remind you that only this part of the roof is covered with the second layer of D200 foam concrete. On this part of the roof, it is already possible to pour the protective layer D800. The rest of the roof is just one layer of D200 foam concrete, and when we finish here, we will move to that part of the roof and pour the second layer of D200 foam concrete. It is already a rule to more or less level it, so that we have a surface for D800. Today we are going to pour this part, this sector, and move on as fast as we can. We still have 3 more days of good weather, starting tomorrow, where the forecast is for sunshine, so we can pour. We hope to finish everything in time to fill the entire D200. In the future, we may take a day off, because by that time, we will have been working for 20 days without days off. And after the weekend, we will come back and make D800 with sand. Fill in the lower tier. Everything is ready here, everything is frozen. It may need to be moistened with water because it is very dry and will suck moisture from the D800. We will start with the lower tier and move on to the upper tier. It will take several days to pour D800 to cover the entire roof area with a protective layer. Day 28, I didn't film anything for 9 days because we were doing the same thing, pouring D200 foam concrete on the rest of the roof. And now we can say that the entire roof is covered with D200 foam concrete with an insulating layer. On the example of this sector, I want to show how we poured D800 foam concrete. This is a 6 centimeter thick protective layer for D200 foam concrete, and it is needed only to protect D200 foam concrete from mechanical damage. We also make a smooth surface so that you can safely move around and place equipment on it. As you can see, the foam concrete is not yet even. There are small deviations from the rule, but in general, you can safely lay the membrane on such a roof. Geotextiles are placed under the membrane, which additionally evens out all these irregularities, but we will still grind the roof to make it smooth as a mirror. When we pull the foam concrete together, there are traces at the joints between the strips. Here is a cable seam, then another cable seam. The rule ran along them, and the edge of the rule left these marks. This is the lower tier of the roof, the upper tier is over there, and we have already poured the lower tier. Today, according to the forecast, it's going to rain, so we can't fill it in. For now, we will do the grinding. We spent 1 day on this section, the next day on the 2 sections. And the next day on the upper tier, we poured another section. It's dark, you can compare. This one is already white, and this one is much grayer. You can't walk on it yet, it was poured yesterday. And it's still on the upper level. 1 section, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 sections. 6 sections, 4 of which have already been poured. For grinding, we use tools that are convenient for us. For example, wide spatulas, narrow ones for some small places, and these polystyrene foam raspers if you need to remove a large bump. They do a great job, but only until the foam concrete has hardened and gained a lot of strength. And when it hardens, even such coarse tools fail to do their job. Therefore, you need to do everything quickly in order to be in time before it gains strength. Today is the last day of pouring foam concrete. The lower tier of the roof has been completely poured, sanded, and all the dust has been removed. We've swept and cleaned everything, and the water inlets are clean. On the upper tier, this section is sanded and cleaned. The next section is not yet polished. We will grind it later when we finish pouring. Because we missed the moment when the foam concrete was fresh and easy to grind, now this section requires a lot of effort to grind. The next section is polished. It was ground yesterday while we were pouring it. There is a small piece left. It will take 2 hours of work to fill it today. After pouring it, we will move on to grinding what is not yet polished. This section, half a section, and the far section we poured yesterday. It is still quite fresh, so it will be easy to grind today. We left less than one section for today. We poured it all on a small pump because the gerator pair on the large pump was damaged and did not work. We have a set of small equipment with us, and we connected only the pump from it. It has the same gerator pair, only smaller in size, so it is less efficient. And yesterday we poured this section and that piece in several lanes on it, and left this piece of work for today. Today is our last day on this site. The roof is finished. The last section that we left for the last day of pouring has already been sanded. The entire roof is polished. There was a big request from the specialists who will be laying the membrane to make sure that the junction with the parapet is 90 degrees. And now we are doing just that. We are cleaning up all these junctions and corners to make the angle straight. And this is basically the end of the project. What we need to do today is to pack up all our things. A set of large equipment and a set of small equipment. Somehow we have arrived with all of it, so we can pack it back up and move on.